Um, so like I said, anything that you like to, I'm glad that you were able to get here on here, Rosa, as well. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
if you are, I'll ask the questions and whatever, I guess it won't probably be in order, but whatever you feel comfortable in working with. But before we get started, if you had any questions for me, I want to make sure that I pronounce your name. Is it Jovanna or Jovanna?
Jovanna.
Jovanna. Okay. And Rosa, is it Rosa or Rosa?
It can be either or. I hope
You,
Rosa's fine.
okay.
Bianca would say Rosa.
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 Just like she's Carrasco, not
Yeah.
Carrasco.
Oh,
And
okay. I was gonna ask that
no,
as well because I am Latina, so I
we are too, but that's
yeah.
kind of the funny part.
About,
She
yeah,
would
Bianca was
say,
like, no.
no
Mm-mm.
Nintendo. That's what she would
No
say.
entiendo,
Remember?
no
No
entiendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Yeah,
too
that was
cute.
That
Bianca.
that one time that she came home telling me that a patient was telling her like stuff in Spanish, and she was like, telling them like, no, no, no. And they're like, how do you not understand? Like you're Mexican, like your last name's Carrasco. And she's like, no, it's Carrasco. Yeah, don't try to get her to speak anything in Spanish because it was not happening.
Is there a story behind that?
No,
Oh,
well, she had just that. Like she had came home and she said, "How dare a patient think I would speak Spanish just because my last name?" And she's like, they were telling me stuff in Spanish and I didn't understand them, and I was telling them I didn't understand them, and they're like, "Well, isn't your last name Carrasco?" And she's like, no, it's Carrasco."
I think growing up, for this is the question I always get, but I do wish my kids knew Spanish, was that growing up, it seems, and I don't know if it's a culture thing, like, we're a third generation Texans.
Mhm.
And I don't know if, when we came over to the States, it started to just transition to more English as the generations went on. And so any Spanish that was spoken around us was more like if the adults didn't want us to understand what they were saying,
Mm.
so we didn't learn
Yeah.
Spanish. So it did get to, I guess, or I would say, like quote, offensive side, because like, well, we're Texans. Like, yes, we're Mexican, but we're Texans, but we don't know
Mm-hmm.
Spanish.
So like
And see,
Yeah.
my first language
Texicans.
was, yes, my first language was actually Spanish. I had to learn
Wow.
English.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. I
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah, I'm also third generation Mexican. But I also found out that I'm Afro-Indigenous. So
Cool.
um
Which I think a lot of us are, and we don't
yeah,
know
which is
it.
of course automatically, if you're Mexican, you're
Yeah.
automatically
Yeah. We just don't know it.
indigenous. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to, in one of my episodes, I had the privilege of speaking to one of a genetic genealogist who works with a lot of cold cases on Jane and John Doe's. And I was able to get a DNA test because I had been questioning my background. And plus, I was helping out one of the coldest cases. I think it's about a 40-year that it has been cold, the St. Louis Jane
Hmm.
Doe situation. So um, she wanted me to submit my DNA because we were talking about my background and where I was living, where I have migrated from in a different states and area. And she's like, you know what? I would love to have you take a test because you might be connected in some way, indirectly or whichever. And so
Wow.
she actually went through my tree once I received it. And she did like color coding and she's like, this is the paternal side, maternal side. She's like, no, did you? And she actually, revisited with her again and she said, just to let you know, I haven't released this. I don't think I've released this episode. But she said, just to let you know that you are actually related to a murderer that we just closed the case on. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's
gee.
nice.
Oh,
Well,
That's
I
wow.
lovely.
mean,
Like,
you
I'd
can
rather
never.
not know that
Know
information.
that.
Yeah, I'm like,
Right.
it could go both ways. You could have a
Yeah.
pretty bland background or pretty interesting background. So I was like, I didn't, I expect the I expect all of it.
Well, I'm more like,
None.
yeah, like, I don't need to add that to
Like
my,
he was
like, there's
from the
enough.
Wisconsin area and he was on the run for like 30 years, 30, 40
Wow.
years. And
Oh wow.
they finally found him. Like they kept saying, "Oh, he's just a nice gentleman. He's such a great neighbor. He's quiet. He's great with the kids. Everybody loves him in the neighborhood." And come to find out, he was like uh, a person who was connected to a camp murder, a couple that he had
Oh my
murdered
God.
in a campsite. And so I'm like, okay, well, I mean, I'm not surprised in regards to my background is pretty scattered all over the place, but I was, is I'm glad that he was caught. But I think like 4 years after he was caught, he actually died of health issues in prison. So it was like this guy had. This is what kind of gets me upset. It's like this guy had like the lavishing life of living life, 30, 40 years past, the lives that he ended and live free without
Mm-hmm.
consequences.
But he's
And
not now, and he won't ever be again.
yeah, so that was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
But that being stated, I think Julie's not going to attend. We can go ahead and get started. If not, if she
Okay.
pops in later on, it's no biggie.
Okay.
But I usually start off with, identifying the pronouns because I am a very inclusive um podcast. So Bianca, and I haven't said this name in such a long time, Bianca, because I have an aunt. Her name is Bianca, and she actually passed away in 2015. So, um, she was one of
I'm
my
sorry.
favorites. So I'll try not to get too much because I have a lot of connection with that name, outside of what you have a connection with you and being her sister and um, how would you describe Bianca as well as her pronouns if she had like she, her, or any others?
She's a woman.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I asked that with everyone. It's just to kind of give everybody the floor of respect. Um, and how would you describe Bianca? Tell me a story about Bianca, knowing that you've have been her sister since the get-go. Um, you did mention that you are Texans by third generation. Did you have any other stories that you'd like to share with me in regards to tell me more about Bianca and her upbringing, her childhood, her life goals, etc.
So I don't really have a specific story in regards to her, like, our upbringing. Is that what you are asking?
Yes, ma'am. I'm a very ethical podcast, so I prefer to talk about the story of the person in present tense, or talk about who they are, and not reflect so much on the outcome. But I do emphasize that if the person is missing or the person's case is still ongoing, I just don't like to put too much pressure on my guests. So I just kind of like talk about
Yeah,
it
no, I'm just trying to
nicely.
understand what you're asking. Are you asking, like, about her, like, her childhood, or what
What
part?
whatever you're flexible, whatever you're comfortable with is yes.
Yeah, I'd like to say what life was like with you and her
Hmm.
back in your childhood, like
Yes.
Bianca growing up, and you're the closest to her, so you could
Uh,
answer that. Like, what was?
I'm I'm not really sure where to start on that. It's not that I'm not uncomfortable. It's just such a long story as, like, I wouldn't even know where to start. We didn't grow up like, it wasn't an easy childhood, you know. I think Bianca grew up with like, we grew up with our mother. Um, I think she was in third grade, so that would be what? Um,
Like 9.
8, yeah, 8 or 9 years old. And then our mother sent her to our biological father. And I mean, I ended up following a little bit after, but and after that, it's just it wasn't a really easy. It's never been easy for us childhood wise. Um, she when we got into teenage years, starts to get really hard just trying to cope with everything. And she got a little bit rebellious, and I say a little bit, she got rebellious, and she actually has a baby, or she's not a baby anymore. She's a big girl now, but she gave a baby up for adoption. Our father made her give a baby up for adoption, right when she was turning 17. So, there's a lot of stories within that big story, but it's just a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know,
That
Rosa.
alone.
Rosa, if you can help, like, because
Yeah.
I've shared a lot with Rosa, I've been really open, and I know Bianca has too. Whenever you come from like rough backgrounds, it's not like you don't know where to start.
It's just hard to talk about. It's hard for me to talk about it. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a situation that I went through, but being her friend and her telling me, about everything in her past and opening up about it, especially the topic of the baby that, or her daughter that she had to give up for adoption, like that. That was really, really hard for her to talk about, for her to deal with,
Up until
but
like up until the
the,
week before she went missing.
yeah,
Yeah.
because see, I went to go visit her in March, 2 months before she went missing. I was down there for spring break with her. And I mean, she was telling me stories about her then. And it, because she, of course, now, what did she turn 18 this year, Jovanna?
I think she's gonna be, I think she just turned
19.
19. Yeah.
19. Yeah, 19.
Mhm.
She turned 19 the 1st of July. So, I mean, just her getting older, getting to an age to where she wanted to have that opportunity to reach out, to let her know, like, who she is, how she can contact her. She wanted that relationship. So that was a tough um, conversation to deal with. It was a hard topic for her, which I felt like had a lot to do with life in general for her.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that is, thank you for sharing that. That within itself, uh, I can, I can definitely, I can feel that, in regards to wanting to reconnect with her birth mother and vice versa, Bianca wanting to reconnect. Um, yeah, there's
Oh,
a
wait,
lot of
wait,
connection.
maybe you misunderstood.
Uh-huh.
Bianca was the birth mother.
Right, yes.
Okay, okay. Just making
Yeah,
sure.
to wanting to
Okay.
reconnect, Bianca wanting to reconnect with
With
her
her.
daughter. Yes.
Yeah, okay, okay. Just making sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
thank you. Um, but yeah, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate sharing that with me. Let's see. Did you have the questions in front of you, or did you want me to go ahead and
No, you can just go for them. I think your questions were a lot more again, why I wanted to have Rosa on this one is that for me, and maybe this will help you in the interview, is that obviously it's been 7 years and she is still there, no trace, no nothing.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of judgment, a lot of stories, speculations, all these things. And for me in the beginning when she went missing, it was really hard because you don't know what to say or what not to say. And you're looking out for, you don't want to hurt people saying things or even hurting her. You want to, I wanted to protect her. but it's gotten to the point where it's like, I don't know what God's will is in this, but what I do know is that she she still has a story to tell. There's still a lot of things leading up to her disappearance that if we can share who she was, why she was that way, the beautiful things that she overcome, um, and the things that she accomplished, that it really could help other people, and really show empathy, show examples of ways to be empathetic,
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
so
Exactly. That's the reason why I've created this podcast, because I understand the perspective of survival, of just being in the class of female and a minority, as well as a lot of episode one is actually the story of me, even though it's under my maiden name, but it tells you exactly the reason why I started this podcast. So it hits all bases and understand the reason why I have more empathy and understanding. I have more patience, and I love to hear the stories of people, of who they were versus what the tabloids and other um, content creators are trying to blow it up to be out of proportion. It doesn't, that moment in, the ending moment of her disappearance should not reflect who she is. It leads up to that point, and like you said, it's completely, I agree 100%. The life of a person um, gives you more like inkling and understanding as what led up to it. Um, so that's the reason why my approach is a little bit different. I was listening to some other your podcasts. I've been following you on Facebook, so anytime you dropped any of the podcasts that you have been on, my approach is completely different than theirs, and that's great because you have multiple perspectives. Um, I'm a person that comes from a different, we're all different ethnic, backgrounds. We've been brought up differently. I'm a military brat, so I don't know if that takes into play. I have,
my kids are military brats,
yeah.
so yeah. Mhm.
So that's the reason why I have my approach the way I do. Some people are more aggressive and more forward. I'm more like, this is not because just because my name is on this podcast does not mean um, this is, I have to hover over the microphone and take control of it, because this is the family's opportunity to take the stage. So, I think the other question is, either one of you, Rosa or Jovanna, if you wanted to ask, um, how would you describe Bianca's personality?
Hilarious.
Yeah, she's
Um,
so funny.
yes, funny, sassy. Um,
She
she
was
was
all
blunt.
Yeah, she was blunt, but she was also very I think from my perspective, because I'm the bigger sister, like she it's like she would say these things, that she was like blunt, but it was like she was also so enduring and nurturing and sweet all at the same time. Like she was super compassionate, and so she would tell her close people exactly what she was thinking, you know, and then you
Mm-hmm.
would be caught off guard with
Mm-hmm.
what she was saying. But then she was so loving. She was such a loving person.
My favorite thing that she would always tell me is like, you better pump your brakes. And that's how you knew like she was serious. Like, don't go there no more.
Yeah.
But it was always laughing, um, especially like with our kids, because our kids were somewhat close in age. So watching them, be together, we'd laugh, we'd, play with the kids. Everybody loved music, dance. So that's what our kids would do, and so it was just fun. Everything about Bianca was fun.
And for us, we just had more history because she was my sister. So, I mean, at any point we could which this is why I love Rosa, is that I can talk to her for hours, about life. See, and it was the same with Bianca, that I could just talk to her for hours. And it was all kinds of different things and deep things. And then when we say she's hilarious, she was like morbidly funny. So we always make the joke. It was like, it was from her traumatic childhood, but it was comforting, you know? I know, like, the joke that I make now is like, I know there's no way, like, all the crying I've done since she's been missing, she would not be okay with at all. Because
Oh, definitely.
I was the big sister, and it was like, if somebody made me cry, no. Like, then she knew something was up. You're not gonna make my big sister cry because she's the big sister, and if you made her cry, that means you did something really bad, and I'm not okay with that, you know? Yeah. She was very loyal and very protective over the people that she loved.
That's when I feel like that's when her nursing came in.
Yeah.
Because she was so protective and caring. And I mean, it's something her, like, I don't even think I went to the doctor having Bianca. Like, I would just call Bianca and tell her. And, one time my daughter had eye surgery, and the doctor, when he was taking off her mouthpiece, they tape it to their mouth. When they're taking the oxygen out, like, he cut it and ripped it, like when he was cutting the tape, and he cut her cheek open. And I remember all he did was tape it. And well, she woke up from her nap after surgery, and she ripped the tape off, and she had like a big old hole. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm panicking, and I'm calling Bianca, and she's like, I'm on my way. And I remember she got here with her little, it was like the surgical tape, kind of like she just retaped it, glued it. But she was definitely my go-to nurse for everything. Everything scrapes, anything, which is why it's kind of hard. I don't know, like, I became a grandma at a very young age. My baby's young. And I told Jovanna, like, I think that's why it was so hard for me dealing with the situation. Like, I literally went through a really bad depression because I felt like the one person that I needed, I didn't have. I couldn't go to her for my questions and because I know she would have made it okay from the get-go, because she would have been like, Rosa, like, stop it. Like, this is happening for a reason. And, she would get real aggressive when she wanted to get through to you. Like, no, like, you're not gonna, like, as much as I could hear her saying it, it still wasn't easy. It was hard. It was hard to deal with. But I mean, I'm so thankful for Jovanna, because I feel like I have a piece of my Bianca still with Jovanna. Like, she talks like Bianca. I feel like her and Bianca sound so much alike, especially when she laughs. Like, they laugh the same.
I'm not going to allow you to do podcasts with me anymore.
Sorry.
Well, I believe Rosa is completely truthful in regards to having a piece of Bianca. I never had a piece of that, so I'm the only child, but it it makes a lot of sense to have that comfort in a situation like that. Thank you for sharing that story, Rosa.
Thank you.
Now, did Bianca, and I know it looks like I'm already running out of time, but I can always come back. Like I said, free 99 when it comes to Zoom, for me. I can provide you another link if you prefer to continue our conversation. And I'll send it through your Yahoo email. And if you wanted to share it with Rosa, and if maybe Julie
Yeah.
later on wants to hop in, just, give her a CC'd email of your choice.
Okay.
But did Bianca ever discuss big decisions that had impacted her life, like past, present, future goals and plans? This, sorry, that.
She really
Oh,
didn't. Well, like she really didn't. Like when I think about like when she got pregnant in high school. Like that was so shocking to me because we were so close. Um, and I had no idea like what she was doing, like skipping school and all that. I had no idea. And then if Bianca was going to do something, whether good or bad, she was going to do it. That's it. There was no like, if you found out about it or whatever, I think she knew her people. She knew who would tell her what. Me and Rosa have talked about this. Like she was private, and that comes too from our childhood. Like we were made to put on this face that everything is okay, everything's perfect, there's nothing going on, and we learned how to do that very well. And I honestly believe that's why there was a lot, there's things that people don't know, or things that I found out, or like things from the past, like different seasons of her life people don't know. And that's not her fault. Like that's what we were taught, you know?
mhm. Definitely. I can definitely say that. She picked and chose what she wanted to share, like
What she was
there was stuff.
comfortable with sharing.
What
Yeah.
she was comfortable is exactly what I was telling Jovanna that other day. Is I felt like, because others know other things that we didn't know, and then we know things that others don't know, and like I told Jovanna, like I feel like she picked and chose who she was comfortable in that situation with. Not that anybody is better than anybody. It's just where she felt more comfortable at. And I feel like me and Jovanna, Jovanna being her bigger sister, and then me being the person that she knew who I was, I worried. You know, anything, the kids were sick or she was sick, I was there calling, I was checking, she knew the worry person that I was. So I feel like a bunch of this stuff that I didn't know is for that reason. She wasn't trying to worry me. She knew I had a lot going on in my own life that I know she just didn't want to worry me on certain things. So
And
like
that's another
Jovanna
thing.
says, it plays a big part.
Yeah. And that's another thing too. Whenever you come from where we come from, you don't want to burden people with like your issues. And it's not, it may not be a burden for your friends or family, but it feels that way.
It feels that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It does. Generational trauma, which I think a lot of children who have had a traumatic experience in childhood, we have the same type of characteristics and how we
Mhm.
shade ourselves from the world. Have a very reserved life, only share just an inkling of things. Sometimes we don't share it at all because, like you said, we don't want to burden anyone. in regards to our problems. Maybe the problems are not worthy to be talked about because other people you've observed that other people have bigger problems. Mine's just minute and I can handle it. And that's one of the things that we kind of get sunk into, assuming that our problems don't matter to anyone else, or we don't want to burden anyone with our problems because it's no biggie. I can handle it, or it's not that serious, and it's only going to happen once, and it's never going to happen again, or I have control of it. Um, I completely understand that part of that childhood side of things. Thank you for sharing that as well. I do appreciate that. Um, I think what else is like I said, some of the questions are not in order. I'm trying to pick based on our conversation flow. So if I'm a little jagged, I do
Fine.
apologize.
That's so fine. Completely
Um,
fine.
let's see. And I think I have about 3 minutes and 49 seconds for this to end. So I wonder if I can have something
Yeah,
that
if you want to resend a link, I'm
yes,
okay
ma'am.
with that. It'd be up to Rosa.
Yeah,
I'm fine.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, share it with whomever would like to jump in. This is why we're here. This is a moment to talk about the special person in your life. So I'll be glad to go ahead and share that link with you, Jovanna, in
Okay.
a moment, and we can start from there if you want to go
Okay.
ahead and do it.
Yes,
Okay,
perfectly fine.
thank you. I'll
Okay.
see you soon.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, welcome back.
Got it. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes,
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 ma'am.
I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Did you want me to turn off my video, or do you feel comfortable with seeing my face? It's up to you. Because I don't see you on my end on the last conversation.
I'm comfortable with seeing other people's face. I mean, you can see my face. I'm just not.
You did your
I don't even
nighttime
know how to
ritual.
turn. I don't even
I'm
remember how to turn my camera
I'm like
on.
I get old school about this stuff. I still am like weird about Zoom. Here, but I can turn it on.
No, it's whatever you're comfortable with. I didn't know if there was maybe sometimes people don't have a function on their phone. I've had moments like that. Like I'm dinosaur. I'm gonna be 50 in a couple years. So um I love technology, but sometimes, that's a love-hate relationship when it comes to that. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
I
whatever is
can't
comfortable
find how
with
to
you.
turn on my.
It's on the
I
bottom
can't.
of look at the bottom,
The bottom. The bottom.
the video thingy.
Oh no, mine's at the top. I'm on my. I'm
Oh,
on my iPad.
there might be like a slash through it.
Oh, like where it says start video.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hey, it's good to see faces. Thank you.
Oh
Whatever. I
my
mean,
God.
I love to talk with people. I'm like I said, I'm kind of old school as well. I completely agree. Like we're so used to just like going to a cafe or hanging out at a library. You want to see who I'm just like I said, I'm from the 70s. I'm dinosaur.
Rosa.
So hey.
Oh no, I'm like more to Rosa. 'Cause we always talk. Oh, I might get emotional. We've
Oh,
never
Like
met
we
in
don't have.
person.
We
you
don't have
never
FaceTime. No,
I
me
know
and
we need
Giovanna.
to. We have never met like in person.
Oh,
We've
there.
tried every year. Every year
Mhm.
we've tried like to get together, but it's like, she has her babies. I have mine. We just got a crazy life. But
Yeah. And we live
hopefully
so
soon.
far. I live in Houston. She lives in Odessa. So it's super far.
Okay. Yeah, and I
Super
live
far.
about, yeah, I'm 50 miles northeast of Dallas. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm
Where are you
closer to
at?
Oklahoma than
Okay.
so yeah. And I've been here for well over 8 years. So, but yes, it's good to see everyone. Thank you very much for joining me again. We can start off with the question I'm trying to like I said, based on our conversation flow, I wanted to kind of not be too jagged.
Mhm.
Let's see. I think we had stopped at discussing big decisions she had made. I think one of the other questions is like, you just, cause I like to hear people's stories, even if it's just like the kookiest thing. Her favorite color and her type of music that she likes to
Pink,
listen to.
pink,
Pink,
pink, pink,
yeah,
pink.
Pink. Everything is better in pink.
Everything is better in pink. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
absolutely,
Yeah. That was her color.
yeah.
Hmm.
I
And
remember her pink
Rosa,
Uggs.
everything was pink. And then she like Rosa, you sent me a text, I forgot to reply, but it was Zane. But we had certain songs that always reminded each other of each other, just like from
Mhm.
growing up, or like, it's so silly. It's silly. Remember what was La Diferencia? That
Mhm.
group, La
Mm-hmm.
Diferencia?
Mhm.
One of their whole albums, like, and we don't speak Spanish. That's the funny part. That's the funny part. But growing up, like we always remembered like it together. And so there were certain songs like that. And she was so funny. She was really funny. So
Mine is "What Makes You Beautiful" from One Direction. Do you remember that one? That
yeah.
part when it's like you're insecure, don't know what for, and like the flip the hair, like she'd flip her hair.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that's what we talked about too when I was down there for spring break. She's like, "You have to come back in August to go with me to Zayn's concert."
Zane. Yeah.
She loves Zayn from One Direction.
Yeah.
that is cute. That is cute. Thank
Mhm.
you. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Like I listen to um different songs from Germany. I speak German fluently when I'm singing German heavy metal songs or I'm listening to something that's like, and then of course like the Spanish song. I don't even know, or I listen to like Peruvian music and I'm speaking in Peruvians, um I just love linguistical things. I really enjoy getting more aware of diversity, and that's just a way of us to kind of keep our connections with the world. And um in regards to the Latina side, like I don't know anything about doing a conversational Spanish whatsoever, but I can read something off the page and be like, oh my God, you sound so fluent, and I'm like, my tongue is tired right now, so I'm just gonna stay at one paragraph because I can't like speak conversational Spanish, and people think because I can pronounce something so well that I must be fluent in Spanish, and I'm like, no, it's just I don't know, it's just like a pastime for me. But yeah, thank you for sharing it. I appreciate that. That is cute though. Yeah, everything is connected in a way, like different scents of perfume or soap or place, like old back in the day when abuela was making her arroz gandules, and like it brings back memories of home and good things. And so a connection with music has always kind of like brought, bittersweet but yet nostalgic memories of a person in our lives. So
For sure.
I've always loved music because it's an international communication through breaking barriers of language around the world. So you can sing and you can hear someone who is in love with somebody in the song, or who's sad for letting someone go, or country songs. My dog ran away, my wife left me, kind of a thing. Like
Well,
I didn't
for Texans, it's super special because we have our own type of country music. We have
yes.
our own kind of Spanish music. So Tejano music is it's Spanish Texas music. It's not
Exactly.
It's not.
just Spanish music, and it's
Yeah, because
Texas
norteño is
country.
norteño and tejano is
Right.
tejano.
And then country, it's like it's not regular country, it's Texas country.
Yes.
So like for me and like Bianca, it was like those old school Tejano music that you grew up with around your the family that you heard, you know, maybe we would make jokes because we didn't understand what they were saying, or the music, like she was funny because she would make like these dance moves just to like, yeah, funny.
Mhm. She
So
did love to dance.
Yes. I
no,
love.
but when you put norteño on, she'd be like,
The cumbia,
The chicken
bachata,
dance.
the chicken
yes,
dance.
that's what she
Mhm.
said. And she'd be like, it sounds like you have to do the chicken dance. I said,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yes. She's my
yes.
Yeah.
kind
But
of.
yes, she loved to dance. She really did. Hmm.
I love it.
Mhm.
Love it. Love
Yeah.
it. Thank
Hmm.
you. Yeah, I used to be a salsa dancer, so we did the bachata, cumbia, merengue, cha-cha. So
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I love, oh my gosh. Yeah. Put music on and my kids look at me funny, like, what is that dance? I'm like, I just made it up.
I'm the same way. I love to dance. I dance to anything.
It's funny.
We'd be in the car, me and Bianca, and we'd be dancing. I'm telling you, especially to the One Direction. So
Funny.
that was our jam.
Thank you for that. I know this one is a very emotional because I will feel it. I'm what do you call it, an empath, so I'm trying to keep it light aired. But if you knew that if Bianca could drop by and visit tomorrow, what would your ideal day spent together look like? Either one of you could start.
Ugh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a very intense, but don't make me cry, please, because I'm very emotional too. So, uh,
Like if she was missing and like came back, or
so if she was able to like like in a hypothetical sense, like um I talk to families about lost loved ones who've passed on, that's the worst scenario. But I always tell them, like, if you had the
Mhm.
opportunity to spend time with that person one more day, what would that look
I
like?
feel like I don't know, maybe I think this is the difference. And I know that I've talked to Rosa about this. It's not the same as losing a loved one. It's
Right,
not the
right. Exactly.
it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's you don't have the closure. You don't know. And the most hardest thing to say, knowing my sister, who she is, what she would do or wouldn't do, I don't want her to just show up at my door. Like I don't want a police officer saying we found your sister, because that would have meant for 7 years that she was being held against her will. And
Mhm.
I'm not okay with that. Like I don't even want I don't like that makes me sick to my stomach thinking about, because I know my sister didn't just walk away. I know
Right,
she did.
right. I
I know she
apologize. I didn't want to put it in that direction. Or
but
you could take it
it's
that
a
way.
no, it's a very real thing. It's very different than there are people that just walk away. There
Hmm.
are people that are just missing. But for Bianca, something happened to her. People know what happened to her and they're not speaking up. And I can't like for 7 years I cannot even, that crushes my heart to think about the possibility of
Right.
even her being alive, because that would mean something very bad has been happening to her for
Happening.
7 years.
Right.
I think the way I would answer that is not what I would do if she was to come. My thing is what I would have changed the last time I saw her. is what
Perfect.
I feel like beats me up the most.
Yes.
You know, like um, um, maybe ask more questions, like because I knew something was going on, but I didn't know through her. I knew through Joe Daniel, because Joe Daniel and my husband were really good friends. So I knew things were going on because of him. And leading to that is I would have taken it back and been like, hey, let's talk. What's going on? Can I help in some way? You know, something like that. You know, like I would have made our good, I would have hugged her tighter. I would have reminded her that I love her. I know she knew that, but to where she felt like she could come and tell me, like, Rosa, this is going on. This is happening. What do you think I should do? You know, something. But I feel like that's how I would answer that question. I would have done things differently. I don't I mean, like Jovanna says, it's not the same as losing somebody. We didn't lose her. She's, you know, like she's missing. We can't find her. We don't have that peace. We don't have that closure. We don't know nothing.
Mhm.
So it's different. It's different for us in that situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, every answer that you're giving is the right answer, based on your perspective on the situation. And so I didn't want to insinuate, I didn't want it to come across like that, if I've put some negativity towards a question, it wasn't that. It was how you your perspective of that question. It could be like, I completely understand both angles, Giovanna, Rosa. Thank you so much, because um there's times where, okay, I'm sorry. There's times where you have to, like, I'm sorry. Um, I didn't I see where, you know, I hold my kids a little tighter. I hold, having that mind thought, the mind process that we are as siblings, as parents. Um, you never know that's their last day you get to see that person. So, it really affects me that you don't expect that to happen to anyone. You don't expect anything the worst to happen, or just for them just to disappear without a trace. And when you brought up the thing about people knowing, Giovanna, knowing about her and what had happened to her and her disappearance, that infuriates me even more, to know that somebody knows something and they're not saying anything. And, I am so sorry, um, that you're going through this. So, sorry.
It's just um I don't know. It's it's totally it's unless you're in a situation like that, you'll never understand.
Right.
Like never. You'll never understand unless it literally happens to you, you know. Because it's easy for everybody to say, oh well, you know, you lost her, she's gone. Like,
Mhm.
no, you can't say that to us. you know? And I feel like that's why Jovanna and I have gotten so close, because her hurt is my hurt, you know? Her hers is totally more. And like I tell her, I will never take the fact that you're her sister. I will never try to be better than you. I will never say like, oh, I miss her more, or oh, I loved her more. No, no, no. But I know Jovanna hurts, and I the same way I hurt. We can relate to that hurt.
Right, exactly. Sorry about the sniffling. I'm sorry. Um,
You okay, Jovanna?
are you guys doing okay? Yeah, I am so I feel like
Like, I understand your with like your podcast and stuff, but like it's not as simple as talking about something like, oh, they're missing. Like, it's not, every case is different. And with Bianca, it's not.
let me know if you want me to take a moment. There was the other questions that were underneath it that kind of get into depths as to leading up to her disappearance. Um, let me know whenever you are ready to take that next step, or if you want to step away from for a moment.
You can go ahead.
Yeah. And please don't feel like I'm being harsh or anything, because I don't want that type of impression. Um, this is your opportunity to talk about things that are, I believe you even mentioned in your Facebook post that a lot of things are raw, on some of the things that how were talked about. But I want to have a different perspective from your angle, your comfortability. So instead of feeling like I just noticed that podcasters and people who do their thing, they have a different angle, and it feels like it's being forced upon. Or I feel like you were, um, that was just my perspective, what I was seeing, because I come from a different angle and things, because I'm a victim survivor of domestic and sexual assault and um, divorces, and I see a lot of the things that happen to women in abusive relationships or circumstances.
We are
Uh,
too. That's the thing that's like,
so I can see it from that angle
you
versus
don't get comfortable. Like, you're not going to just go talk about it.
right,
So I think for
exactly.
like a missing person, for me, it took, I mean, I don't know. Julie set these podcasts up, but it's not easy. It's not easy to talk about because it does bring up all those things. It does, like, she got to this place for a reason. It's not just like she didn't, like you said, you're survive. She didn't survive, you know. So there's more to that story,
Yes.
and it takes a lot for the family to actually speak up about things that I told my mom today. I mean, she's in prison, and she's crying, and it's just, my whole family on both sides may hate me by the time this is all said and done, because nobody wants to talk about these really hard things. But Bianca's not here, and there's many reasons that led up to this.
Right.
She was very young still. at the time that she disappeared. So I'm sorry if I come across, I don't know,
never
more
apologize.
protective, more, it took me a lot to get here to actually start speaking up and speaking out. So,
Yeah.
you
Her
know,
voice.
Never
Hear her voice.
apologize. Ever. Never apologize, Jovanna, because you are doing something that your sister would have done. I think that's a lot of things that a
Exactly.
perspective that a lot of people don't understand is that you are her voice when she is absent. Um, so don't ever
I tell
apologize
her
for
that
what you
all
do.
the time.
Don't ever apologize because you're doing it with strength and you're doing it with courage. You're in a step where a lot of other families haven't even gotten to, and it's been 20 years. Um, because they just, it's something that the family knows and they're hush about it because it's some kind of like unwritten rule that they don't let other people into their lives. We'll deal with our own family issues and not have anyone else be involved in their lost loved one's story. So this is a huge step, and don't ever apologize. But I'm glad that you are here to tell Bianca's story. If you want to take the floor and go with what you wanted to explain about, there's so much behind Bianca's story that not many people are aware of. If you wanted to share that, or if you want me to continue with the questions, it's of your choice.
I mean, I think like I said, I don't know where to start. Like, the media takes things and then they just go, and then I think the last two podcasts that I did, it was more, I just want to find her.
Right.
I just want people to know how it got here. And I pray that someone somewhere has the conviction to hear things out loud and say, I need to say something. That's why I'm doing these podcasts.
Yes, because it's not like, I feel like what I've heard from Jovanna, and I feel like I feel the same way too, is we want people to know Bianca, who Bianca was, the person she was. She wasn't just somebody who married her uncle and went missing, because that's what everything out there is making it sound, and that's what she means by there's a story behind it all. It's not just she married her her uncle.
Right. And that was one of the things that I wanted to completely debunk or have the story to the truthfulness of the story, because I noticed that a lot, that it was always like the centerpiece of conversations, and I completely agree with y'all that that's not what defines the situation. The it could be Joe Schmo from Mars, and that should have never happened to her, no matter who was involved in her life. And so in regard, but I know that you want to get the record straight in regards to how um what had led up her story behind it, because I don't like to listen to media. I don't like to feed into all of that because that's not coming from you. I don't see it as genuine. I see it as a attention seeking, looking for subs, trying to get clout in their whatever.
And initially that one story was released, and that's everyone focused on that,
Right.
Everybody went with that.
which it is part of the problem. Like, it's a little piece of the problem. But there was a very short journey there for Bianca. I mean, I'll start off with, because I've said this multiple times in other interviews, is that our mother is in prison, okay? And our father's nowhere involved trying to find her. So that off the top should give you some kind of clue that there's some pretty crazy things going on there, right? But I can give you all these little details and tell you that we're with our dad. There's, I don't even know how to say it. Just like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I don't know how to just put it into like a shorter.
It was rough.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was
a
rough,
rough childhood.
like rough. And she got pregnant at 16. That baby was born July 1st. She was turning 17 July 21st. She was sent away when she got pregnant. When that
And she didn't
happened,
give up this baby on her good. Like she didn't.
yeah, she didn't
It
want to
wasn't.
do that.
It wasn't
But
her choice.
we did not have the family support. So she does that, gives the baby up, finishes high school, goes and tries to find our mother, who is at that point already a felon, already in and out, doing things she shouldn't be doing. Within a short amount of time, this family, like our mother's side of the family, we didn't grow up with them. Our dad had kept us away. We didn't. So this uncle, like, we didn't look at him like that because we didn't grow up with our family like that. I still don't know my mother's side of the family very well. And then within within a year, she gets mixed up with Joe Daniel and gets pregnant with my oldest niece. You're talking a year. So the most vulnerable, darkest, lonely, nobody there. I mean, I followed her to Odessa, but we're only 18 months apart. And she's with this man who is much older than her. And then it just goes on from there. So it's not as simple as everyone makes it out to be.
Right.
That she
Exactly.
married her uncle.
Right. Understandable. Thank you. Thank you for setting that straight, because I want the truthfulness. I don't want this blown up, exaggerated story that a lot of people are going with. And I don't like the clout. I don't like you know, I've dealt with a lot of family members on my podcast that had the same scenario, being blown out of proportion about the stories of their lost loved ones, or their
Well,
ones that are being
it's to hide all the other skeletons that everybody else has.
right.
That's what it is. Because and
Exactly.
for me to say that, I'd have to say all these other things. And so there's things that are going to come out. There's things people are going to put two and two together, and it's not comfortable. It's not, doesn't make the families look good, you know? But she's missing. Like, somebody hurt her. She's gone. Her babies are without her. It doesn't matter. It's time to suck up your pride and get over it.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. If you are still feeling more um I'm glad that we're talking about this because I love to hear what Bianca really was genuinely to you, your friends, your family, you specifically. Because this
She
makes
probably would have found me by now, not gonna lie.
mhm.
Right?
Oh
She would have.
yeah. The way
Uh,
she sounds, she would have been like,
she would have found me by now. I didn't watch the things she watched. I'm feel so naive. Like I know people watch these crime things and I'm just like, she would have found me by now. However, I don't know that she would have been okay. Like I don't know. Like I said, if she saw me crying like I just did right now, she wouldn't have been okay.
mhm,
So I don't know. I don't know which way. I just know she would have probably found me by now. And she wouldn't have been as nice as me, most likely. Sometimes I
Nope.
hear her telling me to like, you need to, you need to be, you need to stand up for yourself, you know.
or like they say
Yep.
here in Texas, I better put your big girl panties on, or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. That's
Her saying was go big or go home. And
Okay.
so like that morbid humor was like, no, ma'am, like you're missing now and this is not okay. Like,
Mhm,
you know, like we're not gonna go big or go home.
yeah. You.
So,
I feel like people who didn't get to know Bianca missed out. They missed out because
mhm.
They really did.
I feel like I'm one of
She
those
would have
people.
done anything for anybody. Like
Yeah.
she would have just, if you needed something, she heard somebody need something, she was right there. Like she was whatever. What do I need to do? How can I help you? That's how she was.
Mhm,
yeah.
And that says a lot, even coming from where, like, that's why I want to share. Like,
mm,
people wouldn't have been like her. They would have been mean, and she didn't. She tried to change her life and help people,
mhm,
regardless of what she went through and how mean people were to her.
That's what I told Jovanna the other day. Is I feel like that's what made her her is because she chose to be different. She chose to take everything she went through and
Going again.
put it into something.
mhm,
Because I feel like nowadays, especially the generation of today, these kids use all their past trauma as excuses to why they don't do this, they don't finish school, they don't, they turn to drugs, they do this, they do that, and that was Bianca.
Nope.
mhm,
Like it made
I,
her strong. It made
I
her.
hope her kids know that, and they learn that because I know she would want them to know the same thing, to know to do the same thing.
mhm.
Mhm.
We love harder, and there's always a reason why we love harder. It's because
Yep.
we are trying to make up for the lost love that we didn't have in our childhood or the trauma that we had endured, that we're trying to make it a constructive instead of a destructive pattern in our lives.
Oh yeah.
Overcompensating for the lack of what we had received as a child. So that's that's so
And I feel like that's why she was the way she was with her kids,
mhm,
very protective of her kids. It,
completely.
she had to be really, really close for you to be around them, to watch them, to take care. Like nobody took care of Bianca's kids.
Why
Mhm,
I
I'm.
wasn't. That's why I wasn't buying what was happening towards the end.
Mhm.
Wasn't buying it.
Yeah. And
yeah.
that's how come when, you know, I found out through social media. I wasn't on Facebook, but I had actually gotten a message from one of our other friends asking me, I mean, like reaching out to me, telling me they were sorry that they had heard about Bianca. And I was like, what about Bianca? And she's like, you don't know? And I was like, no. And then she said, she's missing. I said, what do you mean she's missing? Like I had just talked to Bianca the night before. And that's when I get on Facebook and, you know, when I call Joe Daniel, are we still on?
Yes, we are. I just didn't want.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent one to Jovanna, another link, but I didn't want to have
I
you.
had to pee. I'm sorry. I had to
I
pee.
can't.
Oh,
Oh,
I didn't want y'all to hear.
oh, oh, okay. I was like, I
yeah.
got something that said 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, are we still on?
Yeah, no, that was me in the chat
Sorry.
section,
Oh,
stating that we had less than. Well, now we have less than 1 minute, but I did send a link, another additional link to Jovanna if you wanted to continue.
oh,
And I think that I can probably answer the questions in our next part if that makes it more palatable in our conversation. But I just didn't want you to, because you were doing so, you're getting in the conversation, Rosa, and I didn't want to cut you off. That's why I was
no,
trying
no,
to.
you're fine.
So
No,
Okay.
no, you're fine.
So you sent it an email?
yes, ma'am. I sent it through.
Okay, I'll send it to you, Rosa.
Okay.
Okay. Be right back.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, bye.
I like when you said that Bianca has a morbid way of of saying things. How I always tell my kids, like, if they're in the bathroom too long, I know this is TMI, but I'm like, they're in there too long and they're like, I'm like, do you need a pencil? Is everything good? Did you get everything out? You know, like, 'cause they're taking forever to go in there. Like, but yeah, that's just me and my kids, you know. We have this morbid communication thing that we have in our house. Like, I had a pet project that we were doing kitchen podcast that it was almost like a ritual thing that every morning we would um grab a coffee and we would just stand around leaning against the countertop and we would have this morbid conversations and that just made my day even happier. It was really weird, but it was with my kids, so it was like, but I wanted
Yeah.
to enjoy that moment with them because it's like um now that I have two kids that are grown up already, so um they've flown away from the nest. So I have one more left, and it's just like I miss them, those conversations that I had with them. So I
And
get
yeah,
it.
well, I have a 16-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And I don't know if it's because I've protected them. I do know the stuff with she was anti-B. I know that it was pretty rough for them because in Auntie B's eyes, when they were little, like they could do no wrong. And it was the same for my nieces and my nephew. And we lost her. Like we lost when you're talking Thanksgiving, Christmas, birthdays, like my kids are military brats. My ex-husband was in the military. I mean, she came and visited, that's who my family was her and the kids. And we lost that, you know.
Mhm.
So as far as morbid humor, they definitely don't get it because thank God they haven't gone through like things that her and I've gone through for them to even understand.
Mhm.
But sometimes I do try to share with them, like, you guys, you'll have no idea, you know.
Right.
But
Yeah, I
yeah.
found out later in life that he's now 27. He finally came out to me probably about 4 or 5 years ago that he was actually sexually assaulted by a he was raped I guess, or sexually assaulted is, I guess, the legal term or the medical term, by another boy. Um, and he didn't tell me till he was in his mid-20s that this
Mm.
happened. And it was from my ex fiance's children, which infuriated me even more. And that was one
Oh,
of the things. So that's why when
so hard.
to back to the conversation in regards to our morbid conversations that we would have in the morning, we had that connection because I understood where he was. I knew what kind of trauma he had endured. After that, he had shared that with me, and I was so furious because I'm like, why didn't you say anything? Why were you so reserved? And he's like, Mom, I just didn't want you to worry about it. I just didn't want you to get overreacting about it. I didn't know if you felt you would hate me more, or you would not accept that. And I'm like, You're talking to me. You know my story. You know I've been through foster homes and group homes and treatment centers and psychiatric wards and detention centers. And I was removed from my house because I was sexually assaulted by my father, domestically abused, had to get restraining orders and had to, buy things to protect myself and change my name. And, like you see me go through all of that, you know.
Maybe he felt like he was protecting you.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't want to be
Everything
too
you did
harsh
go
either
through.
because he was sharing something that was so sensitive,
Yeah.
especially coming from a male perspective. Like he has to feel like he's the big, he's
Mm-hmm.
mature and big guy. He's tough and all that. And I'm like, I get it now. So that's why, back to your conversation about the conversations that you and your sister would have about the more morbid conversations, is because you have that.
Yeah, and those are my kind of people
Yeah, yeah. So
for sure. Like if we
completely
can
get it.
joke about this dysfunctional
Hmm.
stuff, like it's just makes it a little bit. And Bianca was, oh, but she made it like so like, Bianca, don't joke like that, please. It was so
Hmm.
bad. And I'm telling you, it was so bad that that Friday, be prepared what I'm about to say. That Friday before she went missing, she made the joke to her coworkers and said, "Hey, if I go missing, you know what happened to me."
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And she probably meant it in a
But
way,
she.
but she
Mm-hmm.
that's how she joked. Like
Yeah,
she
Mm-hmm.
put a smile on her face, or
she was trying
she
to.
would like cry sometimes and then she would like laugh, like just trying to, like
Mm-hmm.
Grasp the situation that's
suck
ahead
it
of
up,
her,
suck it up.
possibly.
Yeah,
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
And I was going to ask you about, have you received any other additional updates in regards to her disappearance? Like, um, was there search efforts that were made in, because I know you're going through search and support San Antonio, correct?
Hmm.
Are you working with them? Have they done any search efforts to?
So in the very beginning, the last pings for her phone were right there by her house, and we did two searches. One with like the community gathering, and then Texas Echo Search actually helped us search the area. And they searched the home, they searched the cars, they had dogs. As far as the results, um, I'm not entirely sure that they came back clear. Um, so yeah, that was the search efforts. That other than that, haven't given us anywhere else to look. I mean, he left that night. San Antonio is 5 hours from Odessa, where he drove. He didn't get back to San Antonio till 8 o'clock Monday night. So, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and um, has the police declared, any person as a suspect or person in interest in her disappearance? And I know there's probably um, your what's your gut feeling, your intuition.
Right.
I don't know if you
They've
wanted to share that.
only in the media, like they've they've said they have said that there could be foul play. They believe there's foul play. I was told by a homicide detective that unfortunately, if we don't find a body, there's nothing we can do. A homicide detective. CPS, I mean, CPS got involved the very first week, because the kids were left and they were just gun ho. I mean, that's why they removed the children, was that they were convinced something happened, but it's two different agencies. So I don't know. It's super frustrating. Missing persons in Texas is very sad because there's a lot. There's a lot of missings.
Yes, I've noticed that as I continue to do research about San Antonio.
It's very sad.
They are very loose in their investigative practices, if there's
Well, one of
any.
one of the major things is like their missing persons unit. They're not police officers, they're agents. So they only have so much authority in the first place. Other counties, you may have police officers and missing persons, but as far as San Antonio goes, they're not police officers. They're limited to what they can do. So then they have to determine who they can get help from, who to reach out to. Is it foul play? I mean, it's crazy. It's something needs to be changed for sure.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
for
Sure.
sure, for sure.
Mhm.
A lot of corruption. I mean, I think they just previously have been arresting some officers who were involved in false um, information in cases and stuff like that. And that just
Yeah.
makes me more infuriated more because like you expect the people who you would think that are the law enforcement to serve and protect the community to do their best and abilities to search for your lost loved one, and they're not even doing the minimum, the bare minimum of.
And that's what's hard is that adults have rights. We can disappear if we want to. Um, and it's so hard to prove if something is not right. And like the family members, like I knew something was wrong. I could give you all these things and could tell you, no, she's not missing. Something happened to her. But then you have these laws that protect, but they don't really protect them. Because in a missing persons case, those first few hours are the most important. Um, and then like I feel like she wasn't taken as seriously, like her case wasn't taken as seriously. I've thought maybe, and I don't know if this is just me feeling some type of way of, is it because I'm just her sister? My mom and dad are not there fighting for her, and maybe they're saying like, oh, well, if her parents don't care, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like I feel like I was naive and did the best that I could in the beginning.
Hmm.
But yeah, you trust that that they're going to help when you're crying out and saying, "Hey, this is going on. I know this happened. I know this happened. Please go look into this," or, you know.
Mhm.
And the hard part too is that not every individual in law enforcement is like that,
Mm.
you know? So it's like there may be one person trying to do their job and they're doing their job correctly, but they get a bad rap for all
Oh,
the
yeah.
ones who didn't.
For
Mhm.
sure. One spoiled apple,
Mhm.
one rotten apple spoils the bunch, they say.
Right.
So they're looked upon as a whole. And it's sad because I bet you that person is coming in with the intentions of trying to turn that negativity of that district or department around, and it's just
Or just
one
do their
person.
job.
Yeah, and
It's
as long as I mean, just
in her case, it was very simple. It's like just do your job.
yeah,
I
and I
mean, there
mean,
are some things that it's just like, why didn't you do that?
mhm,
Mm,
yeah, very careless, very careless.
Yeah.
Um, Now her they're currently married, correct? And it's how is it? You said Joe Daniel, or is it just Daniel, or how do you identify her her partner?
His name is
Oh.
Joe Daniel, but his nickname is Daniel. Like
Okay,
that's what everyone calls him.
okay.
Mhm.
Now has Daniel been questioned by the SAPD, and what was the result of that?
They questioned him one time, and then he cooperated for the beginning. They asked if he would take a polygraph test. He initially said yes. And then somewhere a little after that, he got a lawyer, and then no more. No more questioning, no more polygraph, no cooperation.
No, I'm not sure if this question is on the prep questions, but kind of leading into um did the SAPD do anything like at least a bare minimum of like looking at her last place where she was identified as last place seen? Did they do at least anything to or if they had provided you any additional information about what they've done so far?
Yeah. I mean, I think initially CPS got involved immediately. If you know anything about CPS in Texas, it takes a lot for them to remove the children. For them to be urgently removed in the way that they did, there was big, huge red flags for them to be able to do that. They did go into the home and they searched it and they did the whole spraying the lights or my only concern is that what came up into those reports, and I don't want to say too much because there is reinvestigating going on now. But like even questioning, like how far did they go with the questioning? I'm not sure, you know.
And have they kept in contact with you in regards to any updates, or has it been pretty much a one-way street that you've been reaching out to them about
One way.
status updates?
One way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
figured that seems like it's a constant ammo when it comes to law enforcement.
Well, especially with missing people.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
noticed
I
that
mean,
a
I
lot.
feel like 7 years says a lot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Have you encountered having I guess the question is, has the FBI been involved in the investigation of her disappearance, Bianca's disappearance, or have you requested her them to be? Because I think that's a family request. I'm not sure
No,
what level the FBI gets
No.
involved, but I'm not sure if
no,
that's no.
no, no,
Okay.
no. Law enforcement has to request help. They can request help from the Rangers.
Okay, Texas Rangers,
FBI,
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
FBI can get involved if it's on government property. They can
Okay.
automatically get involved. Um, yeah, no, we
Really?
can't. I've called FBI before. You can't just go and request and say, "Hey, can you help me?" That's not
Hmm.
how it works. Yeah,
I think
Mhm.
in different states they have um
probably.
because I've maybe, and I that's probably where I'm getting confused. I'm thinking it's across the board as a neutral thing that family has rights to do that, but I think in certain states, the family has to request the FBI's involvement versus the law enforcement asking the Rangers or FBI involvement. So, yeah, I'm not very familiar with the laws, but I'm starting to get to figure out that San Antonio is a different type of breed altogether. So,
Yeah, not here in the state of, I think
In the
it's
state of
whole state
Texas,
of Texas.
yeah, in the
mhm.
whole state of Texas, law enforcement has to request the help from the Texas Rangers. FBI, I mean, I just watched something about a case, but FBI can automatically get involved if they're on government property, but you still have to request help from, like, the law enforcement still has to request. They can't,
Mm.
you can't just call the FBI and say, I have a missing person. Can you help me? Like, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be great, but
Yeah,
it's
because
not.
I actually have a cousin that was in the Texas Ranger field. He's retired now, but what do you say, like 2, 3 years ago when he tried helping us, Jovanna, and they didn't let him
That
because
was 3 years,
they
three
have,
years ago.
yeah, like he says, like they have to send a request for the Rangers to get involved and then he could help. But I mean, that nothing happened. They didn't request it.
Have you done, because I know and that's what even frustrates even me even more is that we have the resources that are in place, assuming that they are in place for families. Come to find out there's a wool over our eyes in regards to the assumption that we have these rights to but in regards to loss, disappearances and so forth. But have you looked into private investigating or other organizations, or are you able to share that or not at all?
Yes. So Texas EquiSearch is a nonprofit organization. They help huge, big time in the state of Texas and nationwide. They helped us. They help all these organizations can help as far as law enforcement, whatever information they give them. Um, they they can't have all the information. Public investigators the same. It all depends on what law enforcement is going to give them. What information will they give them for them to further, their own investigations.
I see. They are they this I think there's a thing that they don't want too many hands in the cookie jar, so say, or someone's tripping over each other's feet in regards to investigation. I'm not sure if that plays in this part, but I would think the more the merrier in
I
regards
could
to trying to connect the pieces.
I could see that because honestly, with Bianca's case, they had too many departments involved, like within San Antonio Police Department. There were too many departments where they could never get the dots all together. So one department knew this, one department knew that. And so no one was ever able to see the big picture. So I could see how they would be more protective
Mhm. Okay.
across the board with that.
Yeah. Um, and you did mention that there hasn't been any recent updates or developments in Bianca's disappearance. So far, you've been up to date in regards to what has been done so far. Have you, as a family, been involved in raising money and doing things from your um, side of the investigation or side of the searching for her? Have you done GoFundMe or raising money for rewarding or tips for anonymous tips?
Yeah, we have a GoFundMe and a Venmo. It's been shared a lot, but not really donated to a lot. I'm not sure why, which I mean, it is what it is. We do one of her other friends, her distant friends, Bianca's distant friend, started up a new page and we've all been trying to get things going like different social media things just to get the word out, just to put more pressure on the police and just spreading the word. So if you go to her help page, it's help find answers for Bianca Carrasco. And we've started, just trying to get the Twitter, the Facebook, the Instagram, all this stuff restarted. In the very beginning, we had a help page, but someone tried to hack into it, and I never been able to get back into it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Like, what
Yeah, it was
happened?
really weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because you did
I,
mention that a couple times on your new Facebook page that,
yeah, I actually had to get a new Facebook, my
yeah.
personal Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
People are just downright cruel. Like, you see, what's the worth of doing something like that to a page that's trying to look for a missing person? Like, you have to be a lowest of the low in regards to doing something like that. I don't know but
Oh,
I was trying to figure out like why. But I guess Facebook is just Facebook. So,
why? Because whoever was doing it doesn't want other people to know.
To know.
mm,
Mm-hmm.
That's why.
yeah, there has to be some reason, and that makes
Mm.
sense in regards to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have maybe three more questions. And let me know if you have questions for me after that or even during our conversation. Um, and you said that her last known location, Bianca's phone was pinged. Um you did mention that before, and I do apologize. You probably answered this question. So, um, because they did the searches in that area. So I can skip that question. You did answer that. Thank you. Let's see. So I guess we have two questions. Um, Now, is there a vehicle involved in her disappearance? What has been done to locate her vehicle if that was involved? Do you
As
know?
as far as I know, the house and the vehicles were searched. Again, I'm not sure of the results of those.
Okay.
But she's saying like if she left in a vehicle,
Oh
no,
yeah, she
they
did
say she
not
left on. She left. Well, he said she left on foot.
on
On
foot.
foot. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And I hate to say this because it seems like it's an ongoing saying that a lot of partners who identify that when someone goes missing, they left on foot with an unknown person to an unknown person. The person that was another man, or is that something you're able to share as a reason why his story in regards to why she would leave on foot, or do you know the reason why he would say, or what other I guess was the day that she went missing, and kind of what led up to him identifying that she had left on foot. Can you tell me a little bit on the day that was leading up to her disappearance? Does that make
Um,
sense? I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'm all over the place when I ask questions. That's why I write it down. So that was just kind of top of my head.
So
So,
they were not talking, and then they were talking, they were arguing those months leading up to her disappearance. And she was talking to one person in particular. He found out the week before she went missing and actually called that guy. And so yeah, that's what he says, that she left with that guy. But I don't like that doesn't if you know my sisters, I mean, she didn't have anything with her and she wouldn't have left her car. It just doesn't make sense if you look at the case.
Definitely wouldn't have left walking.
yeah,
Uh-uh.
yeah. I
Back
mean, there's
back to the not
No
being an
outside.
outdoor person.
Yeah, there's so many quicker options of
Mhm.
fleeing from something that was a verbally abusive relationship. And
Yeah.
walking is probably like the last thing that's on the list if there's no other way of means of
Especially at
transportation.
10 o'clock at night.
And that as well, and being a woman at night on San Antonio streets would be like the big, like the last end result of other options are just obsolete. Yeah, and every case is of a disappearance is always like nothing really adds up because there's always the reason why it's not adding up is because there's not the truth has not been identified. There's a lot of hidden lies or lies are being told about a person that's missing, Bianca that's missing, to cover their own tracks. So of course it's never going to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's never you never come to a conclusion where like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like that never happens in a disappearance of a person. Um but I guess I think the last question is what was the outcome of it, you know, has she ever touched her banking account? What kind of leads you up to knowing that, the walking away statement doesn't add up, like you said, it never adds up to why Bianca had disappeared.
Because
Um,
there's nothing. There's
but
nothing.
yeah, shows no activity on her checking account. There's no activity on anything that she would have used by means of supporting and helping herself along the way of her
Nope.
walking away from her so-called family, which I wholly 100% doubt that she did it on her accord. No mother would ever do that.
Well, some moms would. That's the reality
There's
of it.
there's and
But
there's
there's
I mean,
nothing. There's
from what you
absolutely nothing.
yeah,
There's nothing.
if with Bianca, just understanding Bianca, that's something she would have never done, you know, and different
Her
circumstances.
job too. She wouldn't have just not showed up to
Right,
her job either.
exactly.
There's not there. You can't just disappear like that now. And
Hmm.
there's been nothing, absolutely nothing. Her phone was turned off that night. Never pinged again.
Mhm.
Never pinged at the time that he made a phone call.
Mm.
That's not. Mm-mm,
Yeah, that's yeah.
mm-mm.
And what gets me more flustered is that when they're saying that there's not enough information or evidence to lead up to someone's indictment or conviction of her disappearance, which is like a total piece of baloney because there's enough to put this whoever this perpetrator is in jail on indicted on her disappearance or whatever the case may be on why Bianca is not here. And it's just it just floors me. Like what other information do you need to make it solidified that she is missing and that this person was behind her disappearance? Like what more does a SAPD need to do or need to see to move forward on that?
We
Yeah,
need Bianca.
Hmm.
yeah.
And and I thank you for sharing this with me because it's been an honor speaking with you, Jovanna and Rosa, about a very special person that is currently missing, Bianca is it Carrasco? Sorry, Bianca
Carrasco.
Carrasco. Um, and if you have any links, anything like a, a picture of her that you'd like me to use for the podcast, um, any information that you'd like me to use, I will put that in the show notes. And what I usually do for my guests is that I provide them the edited version of the podcast episode before everyone else listens to it. So then you can go and review it and see if that's good enough for you, if I need to add something, if I need to take something away from it. This is all your control in regards to Bianca's story.
Okay. I really
Did you?
appreciate you covering it and helping us get the word out.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Did you
thank
have
you.
any questions for me outside of that?
Mm,
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. Well, I know this was a very long conversation, but it was duly needed. I hope you guys get rest. I hope that you feel a little bit lighter tomorrow. And reassure that I will stay in touch with you and let y'all know once the episode is ready to be reviewed, you are able to look through it. And then once I get the okay from you, I will release it to the rest of the public to listen to. I'm also on YouTube as well. I might have clips of our video, just like snippets that are very imperative in regards to informative resources that the YouTubers would like to see and add her missing poster to it. So that it'd be like a short clip of conversation. So if you have anything that you'd like me to share, um, uh, you have my email, you have my cell phone number, and I think that's it for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You're very welcome. And Rosa, Jovanna, I see you. Thank you so much for your time, and you have a good, restful evening.
You
you
too.
too.
Thank you. I'll stay in touch.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.